On April 1st, 2006, medical student Brian Schaefer walked into the Ugly Tuna Saloona, a popular bar in Columbus, Ohio, with friends. The night was filled with drinks and laughter, and at some point, Brian separated from his friends. As the night came to an end, Brian was nowhere to be found. Surveillance footage shows him entering the bar, but in a baffling twist. Despite cameras covering every exit, there's no footage of him leaving. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. Authorities launched an extensive search, reviewing footage frame by frame, interviewing patrons and staff, and even using cadaver dogs. But there was no sign of Brian. His phone and credit cards remained unused, and no one could explain how he disappeared. Some believe he fell victim to foul play, while others speculate that he may have intentionally vanished to start a new life. Nearly 2 decades later, Brian Schaefer's case remains an unsolved enigma, leaving his loved ones desperate for answers. On August 13, 2018, Chris Watts made a tearful televised plea for the safe return of his pregnant wife, Shanann, and their 2 young daughters, Bella and Celeste. But his sorrowful demeanor did not align with the evidence investigators uncovered. GPS data from his work truck, polygraph tests, and inconsistencies in his statements led authorities to confront him. Eventually, Watts confessed to the unthinkable. He had murdered his entire family in cold blood. The details were beyond horrific. Watts strangled Shanann after an argument and then smothered his daughters, who were still alive and aware of what was happening. He disposed of their bodies at an oil site where he worked, placing his daughters' bodies in separate oil tanks and burying Shanann in a shallow grave. His motive? A secret affair and a desire to start over. The case remains one of the most chilling examples of a seemingly loving family man who hid monstrous intentions beneath a perfect facade. On February 9, 2004, 21-year-old nursing student Maura Murray emailed her professors, citing a family emergency, and packed up her belongings. But there was no family emergency. She was heading into the unknown. That evening, she crashed her car on a rural road in New Hampshire. A passing bus driver stopped to help, but Maura refused, claiming she had already called for assistance. Minutes later, when authorities arrived, Maura was gone without a trace. No one saw her leave, and her footprints led nowhere. Over the years, countless theories have emerged. Some believe she staged her disappearance, while others suspect foul play. Despite extensive searches, missing person campaigns, and continued media coverage, Maura remains missing. The eerie circumstances surrounding her disappearance, combined with her sudden decision to leave campus, only deepen the mystery that haunts investigators to this day. In 2014, 18-year-old Conrad Roy was found dead in his truck from carbon monoxide poisoning. His death initially appeared to be a tragic case of suicide, but the truth behind it was much darker. Authorities discovered hundreds of text messages from his girlfriend, Michelle Carter, encouraging him to end his life. She manipulated his insecurities, telling him it was the only way to find peace. When he hesitated and stepped out of his truck, she instructed him to get back in. The case sparked national outrage and raised ethical and legal questions. Was it free speech, or was she responsible for his death? Carter was convicted of involuntary manslaughter in 2017, a verdict that set a precedent for digital communication in criminal cases. Her words held power, and in the eyes of the law, they contributed to a young man's tragic demise. When Derek and Maria Broaddus purchased their dream home in Westfield, New Jersey, they never expected to be plunged into a nightmare. Within days of closing on the house, they received a chilling anonymous letter from someone calling themselves the Watcher. The writer claimed to be observing the home and its new occupants, referencing details about their children and even hinting at sinister intentions. As the letters continued, their messages grew more disturbing. They spoke of past generations of watchers who had watched over the house and demanded that the new owners take care of it. The Broaddus family, fearing for their safety, never moved in. Despite police investigations, stackouts, and forensic analysis, the identity of the Watcher remains unknown. The case stands as one of the most unsettling and bizarre real estate nightmares in history. In the early 1990s, an elderly woman named Ruth Price made a frantic call to 911, her voice trembling with fear. She reported that a man was lurking outside her home, behaving strangely. As she explained her situation, the line suddenly went silent, followed by a chilling scream. The audio clip sent shivers down the spines of all who heard it. For years, many believed it was a real-life recording of a murder in progress. However, some experts claim the recording was actually a staged training tape for emergency responders. Whether real or not, the haunting nature of the call continues to fuel speculation and fear, making it one of the most infamous pieces of audio in true crime history. In 1971, John List, a seemingly normal accountant and devoted churchgoer, carried out one of the most calculated family murders in American history. Over the course of an afternoon, he methodically executed his wife, mother, and 3 children in their New Jersey mansion. He then arranged their bodies in the ballroom, turned on religious music, and vanished. Before leaving, he wrote a chilling 5-page confession, explaining that he killed them to save their souls from the evils of the world. For 18 years, List evaded capture, creating a new identity and remarrying. He might have gotten away with it, but in 1989, an episode of America's Most Wanted aired a forensic sculpture of his aged face. A former neighbor recognized him, leading to his arrest. The case remains one of the most haunting examples of how a man can live a double life, hiding unimaginable darkness beneath a seemingly ordinary facade. This infamous serial killer terrorized Northern California in the late 1960s and 70s, taunting police with cryptic messages, bizarre symbols, and coded letters. He took credit for at least 5 confirmed murders, though he claimed to have killed many more. Despite countless investigations and an intense manhunt, the Zodiac Killer was never caught. Over the years, numerous suspects have emerged, but no definitive proof has linked any one individual to the crimes. In recent years, advancements in DNA technology have reignited hope for solving the case. Some researchers claim to have identified the Zodiac, but law enforcement has yet to confirm their findings. The case remains one of the most chilling unsolved mysteries in criminal history, ensuring the Zodiac's legacy as one of the most elusive killers of all time. The master of macabre met his own grim fate under bizarre circumstances. On October 3, 1849, Poe was found delirious on the streets of Baltimore, wearing tattered clothes that did not belong to him. He was incoherent, unable to explain what had happened, and repeatedly called out the name Reynolds, a man no one could identify. 4 days later, he died in agony. Theories surrounding his death range from alcohol poisoning and rabies to a sinister political scheme known as cooping, in which individuals were kidnapped, drugged, and forced to vote multiple times for corrupt politicians. To this day, Poe's cause of death remains unknown, and his final words, "Lord, help my poor soul," only deepen the eerie mystery surrounding his demise. This century-old case is one of the most perplexing and terrifying unsolved crimes in history. In 1922, the Gruber family, living on a remote farm in Germany, experienced a series of strange events: footsteps in the attic, unfamiliar newspapers left on their property, and household items moving without explanation. Then, one fateful night, they were brutally murdered, each one struck down with a pickaxe. Even their young children and the family maid, who had just started working there, were not spared. Disturbingly, in the days following the murders, neighbors noticed smoke rising from the farmhouse chimney, and cattle had been fed, suggesting the killer had stayed on the property after committing the crime. Despite exhaustive investigations and numerous suspects over the decades, the murderer was never identified. The Hinterkaifeck murders remain one of the most chilling unsolved crimes, leaving behind a haunting legacy of terror and unanswered questions. Which of these cases creeped you out the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more chilling true crime stories. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, and don't forget, I'm always watching.